Alrighty, I couldn't help but not get a show in this week. I think I've had a show pretty much every week until except for Christmas times. Uh,
Okay.
I do apologize for the screen being a bit blurry, but we'll figure that one out. But I
No.
am joined by John Bechtold, who is involved with Hockey Ministries Canada and a former teacher of mine from many moons ago. And the reunions continue. I met Lloyd Friesen back at in Carenport back at the Labor Day weekend. Just ran into him, and then I was at the Ryan and Jody Halls on my way home. We stopped there for a bite to eat, and so yeah, it's always good to reconnect with dare I say friends, even though you're my teacher, you were a friend.
That's right.
And honestly, you love talking to the Detroit Red Wings. We swept your driveway in 1995
Yeah, that's right. I
when
remember.
when the Devils swept in a strike shortened season. Your driveway.
That's right. I
Uh,
remember.
uh,
I remember that.
so these things come back to me, and again, I make a few notes and let's see where it flies. But today I got an inbox by Sean Rutledge, and it's a picture of you and him and connecting and this and that, and then yeah, and then I thought, hey, I would reach out to you to come on and share your journey. And again, it's been a lot of years.
It has.
29 years, I think, since we've talked, honestly.
Wow.
And so this is
It's
this
a
is
long
quite
time.
something. And I was at the Carenport reunion in 2018, and I was talking with Jeremy Fries, and he said, "Oh yeah, yeah, he says, yeah, John Bechtel, he comes in our area there, and can touch his base and that sort of thing." So, but what exactly do you do, John, for Hockey Ministries Canada? What is kind of that job title?
Well, uh, as far as title goes, I guess I'm one of the directors out here. So
Mhm.
so I oversee various leagues that we supply biblically based chapel programs for. Currently the ones I'm involved in are the Western Hockey League,
Yeah. Okay.
Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. I I helped John McDonald, and we try to supply all the teams with these chaplains.
Okay.
That's what I do, and then I've served at the hockey ministry camps.
Great.
Yeah.
And then I heard a rumor that you were at Missions Fest in Winnipeg a few weeks ago. So somebody had mentioned that on the page that they had connected with you. So Michael, when you watch this, again, interesting because Missions Fest, there's no sports really going on there. So what was kind of the goal there?
Well, the goal to see if there would be people that might want to be part of this ministry,
Mhm.
chaplains, or maybe there's a full-time person.
Great.
So I'm always willing to hand over some of these leagues.
Great.
Like living in Medicine Hat and being in Flin Flon, that's a little bit of a stretch. But anyway, that's what I have right now.
Yeah, that has to be about at least a 11 hour drive. I would
Mm,
think just off the top of my head, but
Well, I think
you
it's
know,
13 or 14
13 or
hours.
14.
Yeah.
So again, what was kind of your inspiration to get into this? Again, kind of know you from the Briarcrest years, supporting the Briarcrest hoodie, and just uh, where was that kind of that transition out of that, and when did you leave Carenport to go into this?
Well, I guess well, I was serving at the camps for hockey ministries before I went to Cairnport.
Mhm.
Probably nearing the end of my teaching in Council, Saskatchewan, where I became a Christian. So I became a Christian later in life. And then I went to Cairnport High School to teach and also to coach the hockey team. And so uh, I continued to work at the camps. And then, and as I coached the hockey team, I think it was 1996, we went on our first mission trip to Sweden with the at that time we were playing junior B.
Mhm.
And so as it ended up, we ended up going to four mission trips, one to Russia the next year, and then to Holland and Sweden, and one to the Czech Republic. So through those times, I think that God was really showing me or teaching me that He could be trusted, and that that as I was working in, I was teaching, but the hockey ministry got bigger, and so in time I gave up my teaching and became a full-time hockey ministry guy, just to make a long story short.
Right.
Um, and then so I guess what happened is when I left Cairnport in 2004, I moved to Alberta, and then I've continued working full time for Hockey Ministries International when I lived in Strathmore, Alberta. So I just continued to work that way.
For sure. And so what is a kind of day-to-day operations look like for John Bechtel? And
Huh. Well, it varies a lot. Of course, being a missionary, we got to raise our support. So
Mhm.
you're communicating with your supporters for people to pray because it's so dependent on prayer for God to open the doors. Uh, Sometimes it's phone contact with the chaplains, to encourage them. And so what basically I'm doing is, as the Lord leads, to building a team to serve these hockey leagues. And I guess I've met a number of these people through hockey because I coached so long. I played hockey before that at the University of Saskatchewan, so I've had a lot of contacts, gone to many different kind of training clinics, and so I guess in time it's enabled me to, I guess, to be respected enough where they would allow us to serve their leagues, and so what I do is many times I travel and I'm visiting chaplains to encourage them. And then I go to many special events of the leagues, like in Winnipeg, the Manitoba Saskatchewan showcase. So I'd go there, and I'm thankful for the support of Kevin Surratt, the commissioner of the Manitoba League, as well as Kyle McIntyre, the commissioner of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, and also the great support we get in the Western Hockey League. Richard Dirksen, the vice president, but one of his roles is to oversee the work that we do for the Western Canada in supplying them for chaplains.
Definitely. And as the WHL has expanded, I know 30 years ago there was no Edmonton, there was really no Calgary, there was no Vancouver. Uh, I don't think there was Victoria. So again, that what you're describing here is a lot of networking, a lot of relationship building, and and I was thinking about this just before we went on. Uh, it's we're coming up to the anniversary of Humboldt,
Right.
and just I remember hearing some clips and just again not to dwell, but I think it is always good to remember. And what was that time like for you, just in that
Well,
navigation?
well, of course, that was a very difficult time. Uh, it was right around playoff time. At that time, I lived in Cairnport, and I was on my way to watch a playoff game with the Swift Current Broncos and the Moose Jaw Warriors. I got a phone call from my chaplain in Nipawin that there'd been a bus crash, and I didn't know how serious. But when I went to the scouts room in Moose Jaw, the scouts were very upset because reports were coming in. There were seven dead, and there was a lot of hurt and a lot of anger. And so that was the first that I really heard about it. And then as I watched the first period, now the first period was over. One of my relatives, actually a cousin, showed me a picture of the bus, and I was just sick, and I just went home. I didn't stay there. So I guess what happened is basically it was very personal to me because I had coached the head coach of the Humboldt Broncos, Darcy Hogan, for 2 years in Briarcrest. And but anyway, so it was a Friday night, and then the next day, it's kind of interesting with Hockey Ministries International. We had meetings. I think it was in North Carolina, and they brought in a grief counselor at time how to handle grief. And really, he taught us. But then he also phoned me that day, and kind of informed me the role that maybe I needed to play because this is a league that I was responsible for. And so we just brought a presence. We were there for the parents, for the survivors, and we were there constantly. And of course, one of our chaplains, Sean Brando, was very involved. And so Sean, he was there in many different roles, many different hard roles. And so I think what people saw is that, in the words of Bill Chow, the commissioner of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League at that time, how thankful he was that he had us to be the chapel program. Not that we look for something like a tragedy. We're there for those players to encourage them. I like to say the chapel program supports the player, encourages the player, but also challenges the player because the Bible's very challenging, not only to the player, but to all of us.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we just serve that way. And when this terrible thing happened, our people served
Mhm.
and cared for the injured parents and everything like that. We were
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And so and there's been other terrible things that have gone on in hockey, and they've seen how our people have been there. There was a terrible accident in Moose Jaw, and here our chaplain was at the hospital. Actually, both players survived, but one had a very bad brain injury. But they were there, and so I guess I think the leagues saw that here we are just serving them. And former commissioner of the Western Hockey League, Ron Robinson, like they used to invite me to their league luncheons, their award luncheons. They no longer do that now. I think they do it on Zoom, I guess. But when they did it in person, that was a great time to get to know general managers and coaches, make sure they're happy with our chaplains. And that was it was a different time because they even asked me to pray for the meal after this terrible tragedy.
Mhm.
And so I did that. And when I saw Ron Robinson, he just said, they don't broadcast who we are, and that's okay. But he would just say to me how thankful they were for our ministry, the way we're there for their teams and to serve in whatever way we can, and that's what we do.
Yeah. Most definitely. And we've billeted here for the Pistons throughout the years. We haven't done it for a few years, but I know firsthand how that chaplain program can definitely play a role in the kids' lives, right? Because hockey is just a small portion, and then the rest is
Well,
life, right? So,
well, there's life, and we're all facing the ups and downs of life, and they as hockey players, the ups and downs of being a hockey player.
mhm.
It's not always easy.
No.
Sometimes there's trades.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not playing.
Yeah.
Uh, Many different challenges for hockey players,
Yeah.
and so we don't determine their future, but we come alongside them and encourage them, and yet we support the teams wholeheartedly
Yeah. Yeah.
in whatever they're doing.
Yeah, no question. We had a situation where a guy wasn't playing, and it's like, okay, are you all right? Or we had a guy that didn't really open up to us. He actually got traded up to Flin Flon. And yeah, it was an emotional goodbye, and it's just okay, like these sorts of things, because at the end of the day, these kids are just kids, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And I mean, if I look back now, whew, just with I harken back to our time watching the Warriors, right? And the late Rod Tremblay now, and those guys, we were kids watching them, right? And
Yeah.
sorry, it's
No.
emotional stuff because
Yeah.
his nephew lived with us for a bit,
Oh, wow.
and
Wow.
relationship, right? And so
Yeah.
um all these years later, I view it as through a different lens because
Right.
just like
Yeah. That's right.
yeah, it's it's
Yeah.
it's massive. What have
Hmm.
what have been some of your highlights doing this? And you've probably touched on a few here, but what have been some of those things that kind of say, hey, I want to keep going, or that sort of thing?
Well, I think the highlights are that I've been able to meet a lot of people, uh, through working with hockey ministries. I guess in my main current role of overseeing chapels. So I've met pastors, lay people that are great people that I've been able to get to know, and them to get to know me.
Mhm.
And they're the real heroes. They're the guys that are serving those teams and being creative in how they speak to them. I just encourage them when I do through various things is to be biblically sound. We're not motivational speakers. We're here to speak to them through God's word,
Right.
and and they do that. And I'm very proud of those guys. And I'm kind of proud of the team that we have. And we've been able to have these chaplain retreats. You talk about highlights is when we have our chaplain retreats, we hear from the chaplains what works for you, and we share ideas to strengthen our team as we serve these various teams.
Yeah.
So that'd be some of the highlights, or or to when you've done it for many years, and now they start a hockey ministry camp in the Spokane area through Todd Ulrich. So I've been the Western Hockey League's a big area, so I've been down to Spokane and Portland and all over those places. Um, but yet I go because I believe the Lord wants me to go
Mhm.
as a calling. But again, it's these great people that inspire me as I go and see them.
Yeah. So when you talk about the calling, how do you feel like maybe Briarcrest was instrumental in that? You
Wow.
refer to a bit of teaching with that, but
Well, certainly. I uh, I went to teach there as a very young Christian,
Mhm.
and I got to learn while I was around listening to chapels of various speakers. You'd probably recall some of these guys, Dr. Barkman and Dr. Budd, and they'd be speaking from the pulpit. But I was like a sponge there, learning because there was a lot of things I sure didn't know. And so one of the verses that really spoke to me was, if you hunger and thirst for righteousness, you'll be filled. So that was kind of what I tried to do. And I went to everything I could to learn all I could. And then I was very fortunate to have a guy like Wes Olmsted. Then there's Carl Hinderegger and Ken Ginter, who would teach through God's word and really inspired me that way. So that was a really big deal. It was like, even though I didn't go to Briarcrest to go to the Bible college, I was getting trained. And then another really big thing happened. I was going to learning off all these people, and it was great to see their lives, see their families. And then one day, a young a young lady that actually she lives in Winnipeg now. She challenged me to go street witnessing. I thought, are you crazy? But I went, and it changed my life because it was simply going to talk to people and not asking questions where they could just say yes or no,
Right.
so that you would communicate as you were sharing, and then where you could, you would try to show them verses in the Bible because their problem is not with me, but is with God's word. If that could inspire them.
Yeah.
So, so that really was really a big thing for me because that's what was part of our mission trips when we went to. The Clippers were out street witnessing as part of the activities we did. I trained them as I learned to be trained. So no, Briarcrest was instrumental in my life and prepared me those mission trips. Like I didn't know where we were going to get all the money, and I didn't know how things we were going to go. I remember our first plane trip. I thought, now what are we going to do? But it was like when we stepped out like that, I don't know. God showed us, and all of a sudden, the thing that happened, we were hockey players, but we learned now they had a program called the Fika in Sweden, and that was simply a coffee time where people would interact. But anyway, one of the things we had to do on the mission trip was to have a couple guys share of why they were Christians or what, what was important to them about Jesus Christ. And so they did that, among other things. And so it was really exciting when we went on the mission trip. But now what are we going to do? Well, hard to believe what we tried to do and what we did was God opened the door for us after even in junior B, after a game in Cairnport in the old, what they call the rink, I forget now.
Oh, Spruce Gardens.
Yeah,
Barrels
Sparrow
Gardens.
Gardens.
Yeah,
The old
Sparrow Gardens. That's it.
airplane hangar with a Quonset on one end,
Yeah.
but that we were very thankful for. But here we were having pizza with a junior B team, and a couple guys were sharing, and
Yeah.
we called it a fika.
Hmm.
And we did that in junior B. Then we did it in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. And I thought that was really important for our guys to talk about their faith and hopefully strengthen it. And so that was part of us too. So not only were we hockey players, but we were sharing with the teams on a Friday night after the games.
Yeah.
So that was all part of my training.
That's some sweet stories there, and I mean, it brings me back because I remember those coffee houses. Oh, you guys are doing
That's
this
right.
here now, right?
Yeah,
And most teams accept it, right? Like punch it out on the ice, and then hey, let's come over and
that's right.
like
We tied it in with a meal,
yeah,
and they ate together
yeah,
after they'd been battling on the ice and some real good battles sometimes.
yeah.
And then a couple of our guys would share about their lives, and I would share a little bit about hockey ministries.
Hmm.
And many times we would give them our Hockey Ministries International Bibles that had testimonies of NHL players
Right.
of the importance of Jesus in their lives.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that kind of and then that transitions, the summer camps at Briarcrest too. Roger Nielsen, Chico
that's right.
Reddish,
Yeah,
and the late Roger Nielsen's hard to believe he's been gone for 22 years and
wow, it is.
almost 20. It's just, yeah, but these guys, the seeds, the legacies these guys
That's
leave
right.
behind is just right.
That's right.
Um, again, just again, your story continues here, John. This is incredible stuff, honestly. So I mean, it's quite something. I'm not sure where else to go here.
No, that's okay. That's okay, Steve.
It's
No,
it's
no,
all good. This is actually quite emotional for me because
no.
it definitely, those people though that have played a role, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Are massive. And I was going to ask you about mentors and role models, but I think you answered that question. So,
Well, so many people we were able to interact with, like you say, through the camps we had in Caronport and all over. There's so many of these guys.
Right.
There was such an encouragement to the people that would take part in those camps, and plus the campers.
Hmm. Yeah, most definitely. What is your rest of your family up to these days?
Uh, well, um, my wife and I we live in Medicine Hat. Still kind of a central place, I guess. You still like driving,
Yeah.
but my oldest Ben, he's a nurse practitioner, and he serves in Shaunavon.
Okay.
Uh, so he does that, and he's married with three children, three grandchildren, and so and my second one, Alex, is he's teaching in Calgary into special education, and my third son, Markson, who played in the Western Hockey League, and and then he played at the University of Waterloo before becoming a an OPP officer, Ontario Provincial Police. And here's an interesting story. 25 years ago, it was at least 25 years ago, one of my assistant coaches was Craig Callister. I don't know if you remember him, but anyway, so Craig was my assistant coach, and Craig serves with the OPP in Petrolia, and he's been a huge mentor to my son, Markson, in Ontario.
Nice.
Just an incredible thing of God has blessed us in ways you wouldn't expect.
Right.
Um, and part of his training was a guy named Mike Stern. Do you remember him?
Yes.
Mike Stern was his was one of his teachers when he was at police college.
Okay.
And one of the things he did with Markson, he goes to go to class, and here he's got a clip of Markson in a battle on the ice. Well, of course, the cadets all love that. So anyway, that was Mike. So the only two people I really knew in Ontario have had a big impact on my son. But he's married with a son. Uh, so that's three. And my daughter is married and she serves as a teacher in Kinnersley. So
Nice.
that's where my family is. Yeah.
Home of the Clippers, Kindersley Clippers.
Yeah, Kinnersley Clippers. That's right.
And,
A different
and-
Clipper team,
yeah,
different spelling.
yes, it's true. And then Shaunavon has the Hunter brothers, and then they also
That's right.
have um oh shoot, when you're on the spot, right? She works for the
Yeah.
league now. Uh, everybody's, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
them.
Haley Wickenheiser.
Haley
Yes,
Wickenheiser
of
building,
course.
I guess. I've never seen it, but
Okay,
yes. Yeah, I
okay.
guess it's quite a facility.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite something. Speaking of facilities, and not to sound too much like Brian Williams, when you walk into the Barkman now, like, what do you think? I remember when I walked in there, I'm like, I feel like I'm going through that right now in Steinbach with the new event center,
Oh, yes.
right? And just all that. And like when I went into the Barkman, yeah, that is something. And when you hear that the Moose Jaw Warriors are actually they practice there sometimes,
Yes.
then
Yes.
you've hit it big.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. It's really beautiful to see such a wonderful building and seeing the team doing so well.
Yeah,
I think they're in their finals this weekend
they are.
in the best out of five, and they're hosting the
Yeah.
first three games, I believe. So they've done very well, and I'm really thrilled to hear that the way the program has progressed, in their whole sports program. That's great to see. But I know that a lot of people have uh, have really sacrificed a lot to get them to that stage.
Yeah.
Guys that I coached, that it wasn't like that when we're in Sparrow Gardens, where we did, the ice we had to pray to freeze in order to practice by October if we're lucky.
Mhm.
Uh, and so I'm really happy for the guys now, but I know that a lot of people uh, paid a lot to keep the program going, and it wasn't easy,
No.
and there was a lot of challenge financially, and but I'm thrilled for them. But that's what it makes me think. And really, one group of people there uh, that I coached. Actually, I call him the president of the group, Dave Drebert. There's Trevor Frost and John Armbruster, Ryan Willison, to name a few. These are guys I coached, but they formed a committee that they financially support that team. Incredible. And
Yeah,
they've got alumni guys supporting that team with the dollars it takes
yeah,
to really be the program they are.
right.
So I give them guys so much credit, and I'm thrilled to hear that they've done that. And they've been a real backbone of the team. Guys you wouldn't hear about so much, but they're backing them.
Well, totally, right? Like I go back to 30 years would be like the Clippers team that refuses to lose, and there was that Jeremy kid from Seattle. He had the nickname Seattle, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And then when Mark Roth went from high school to the college, okay, well we got a chance, but there was like I remember these slogans around Carenport refused to lose.
yeah.
It was the place. It was the happening place. Uh, I gotta ask you, what is your memory of the Lime Brawl? And this was on Super Bowl weekend of Super Bowl 29. I was right there, big, huge Lime Brawl. What do you remember about that? I think you guys were playing the Regina Capitals. I know I'm going far back in my head here, but do you have any recollection of that game? I was
Well,
traumatized. I had to go cry in the canteen, I'll be honest.
well, those are some pretty tough times. Especially when we were in junior B. The reason they call us sometimes junior B, and so yeah, no, those are very difficult, and it was hard even for people in the school to understand the hockey players. But what do you do when somebody spears you or really takes liberties on you? See, I always believe that not only did I want to see our team be a good team, but I knew that we had to be a tough team if we were gonna be able to win. And and that didn't always happen, but but that's part of the game. Uh, if you take a look at the National Hockey League, there's not many teams that aren't really tough that are winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
You look at the Florida Panthers last year, and the Edmonton Oilers also had to get tougher before they could start to win.
yeah,
Toughness is part of the game. You
exactly.
got to be able to body check. So it's unfortunate when you see something like you saw there, but sometimes it gets out of control,
Yeah.
and unfortunately that happens. You don't want to see it, and it doesn't happen very often anymore. Fortunately, in any level of hockey, you don't see the line brawls or anything like that. Not
No,
very often.
no. And we saw
No.
what happened in Tri-City a few nights ago. But my
Oh
rec
my.
but my recollection of that brawl was one guy, a Briarcrest guy, was getting his helmet ripped off, full cage, and then I'm watching this one guy just getting bumped around, and then the defenseman, Briarcrest defenseman, just came in and just slugged him down because he's like, "Well, I have to defend my guy," and I was
That's
sitting
right.
right there, and I was like, 16-year-old kid, I was just bawling. I'm like, "What am I doing?"
Yeah. No. No. That's it's those are hard things. You don't want to see them happen, but sometimes especially when you got guys that not, when they're not going to schools, they're not as, they're not concerned about their where they are in their education. And many of them maybe not going on their hockey careers, and who knows what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily put all the blame on the other team, but I know sometimes it blows up, and you don't want to see it, but sometimes it happens.
Sometimes it happens. It's
Yeah,
that's exactly it. Totally.
yeah.
Good, good. Was there anything else you would like to talk about or something I have not covered?
I don't, not too much that I can think of. No, Steve,
Yeah.
I don't think so. No, I think. I didn't know what I was going to be able to talk to you about here. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I know that was our conversation at about three
yeah.
in the afternoon, and then I'll be honest, I went to my son's hockey, and then there was something after they wanted us to do a promo for the Pistons, and I was like, okay, well, I'll get home, and no, here I am. Uh, Um, but yeah, this has been awesome. I know I've wanted to get you on here for a long time, but I always love reminiscing with people formerly from Briarcrest and all that time. And again, just what you do because hockey's just more than just okay, that 2.5 hours on the ice or whatever it is. We have a great chaplain here in Steinbeck and Mike Kale.
Yes, you do. Yeah,
And I, again, former Briarcrest guy, just
yeah.
I may be a bit biased but just all just all of that, right? And I know again that impact that plays. I've seen it over and over, and it's huge. It's
Yeah.
great. And so, John, God bless you for everything that you do, and in the future, it's good.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. And don't be shy to come on again.
I don't know what else I'd say, but
Well,
anyway.
we can recap. When the Red Wings.
Oh no. Well, yeah, no. After that terrible sweeping of my driveway,
Mhm.
if you remember the succeeding years, they
Yes.
were great Red Wing years.
Yeah, 97, 98. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's true. I think I even have a Detroit Red Wings Stanley Cup banner somewhere. So I asked for
Okay.
that for Christmas one time. But hey, it's all good. It's all fun, John. But yeah,
Yeah.
God bless and safe travels
Okay.
as you
Thank you.
continue on here.
So
You
now,
got it.
how do I listen myself now? Sometimes, Steve.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I will put this on the Facebook page and then I will put this
Okay.
on the YouTube of Late Night with Smitty. And yeah, we can go from there. So that's how that'll be done.
Will you send me an email just how to do this?
Yeah, I what I'll do is I will send the YouTube to you
Okay.
via
Yeah.
text. That's what I'll
Okay.
do.
That'll be great.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
just convert it and then here we go.
That'll be great.
And I'll clean my camera in the meantime. So I'm driving through a fog here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyhow,
well, thank you, Steve.
yeah.
No, that's
Thank you
great.
very much. Yeah,
Good chatting with you.
this has been good. Good
All
deal.
right.
Take care.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. Bye
Bye
now.
bye.